we can also use recursion to traverse string, array, and array list objects. So here we have an array of numbers, and you've seen this method before. To find the index of the number in the array, we use a for loop, and we traverse the array from index 0 to the length of the array minus 1. And then if the number at index I is equal to the key, which is the number we want to find, then we return the index of that number. Otherwise, the loop finishes and we return an index of -1. So now we'll write a recursive method that traverses the array of numbers. So we have find index and a recursive version. And we're going to pass in our array of numbers. And in the recursive method, we need to keep track of the control variable. So the progress of the recursive method needs to be captured using a parameter in this case. So we'll call this the current index in the array. And we'll also pass in the key that we want to find. So remember, recursion is a top-down method, whereas iteration is bottom-up. So effectively we start from the length of the array -1 and traverse the array down to 0. So our stopping condition is that if the current index is less than 0, then we return a not found result. So remember the iterative method, we went from 0 to n-1. So outside this range, the number is not going to be found. So this is one base case of this recursive method. And we need another base case to check if the number at the current index is equal to the key. And if that's the case, we return the index of this number in the array. So that's our second base case. And now we call the recursive method. And we pass in the numbers array. And this time we pass in the current index -1. Because we're traversing the array backwards. And we also pass in the search key. And let's fix this typo over here. So initially, we call the recursive method with the numbers array, and the current index is going to be n-1, which is the index of the last number in the array, and we pass in our search key. And then assuming the number is not found, then the next call to find index, being the recursive method, takes in a reference to the numbers array again, and this time it's going to be n-1 -1 to check the previous number in the array. And that keeps going on and on until a number is found or we've traversed the entire array. So let's print our result from our call to the recursive method. So we pass in our numbers array, and we start at the index, being the array length -1, which is the index of the final number in the array. And suppose we want to find the number 5. So if we run this, we expect the number 5 to be at index 0, 1, 2, 3. And that's the result we get. Now suppose we check for a number that doesn't exist. So -1 is returned because the number wasn't found.